Good morning again, and welcome to the 7th Annual Eric Hylton Distinguished Chair Lecture Series. I'd like to make a couple of announcements. There is an informal session this afternoon from 2:30 to 4. If you don't have the opportunity to ask the question or questions that you would like to ask, you're welcome to join us. That will be at the University Club, which is part of Barron's. You're free to come in late or leave early. It is an informal session, and we have a real big lure for you. We have cookies and soda pop and water and juice. First of all, I would like to thank Wendy Gary for all of her hard work putting all this together. And Wendy, thank you very much. I would also like to recognize two former Eric Hylton Distinguished Chair lecturers, Mr. Chuck Warzak, who flew in this morning from Baltimore, Maryland, and Mr. Nick Massett, who flew in from Houston, Texas. And I would like to say something certainly about Gourmet Night. This is the 31st anniversary, and the term fire and ice, if you're from the Northeast, we say fire and ice. Down here you say fire and ice. So we're looking forward to that evening, and as I know many of the folks in this front row are too, and I would like to thank all the students that are involved in that and the faculty for participating in Gourmet Night. Good morning again, and thank you for being here for our 7th Annual Eric Hylton Distinguished Chair Lecture Series. My name is Clint Rappole, and I'm pleased to let you know I've been here 33 years at the Conrad and Hylton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management at the University of Houston. I would also like to give you a brief background on our endowed chairs before I introduce our Eric Hylton Chair Distinguished Lecturer. In 1982, we were the proud recipient of a $21,350,000 grant from the Hylton Foundation over a 10-year period. Many things were provided by this grant. For example, a 94,000 square foot addition, which is called the South Wing, which houses laboratories, classrooms, offices, public space, the library and archive, and of course Alumni Hall. As important as brick and mortar are, however, it should also be noted that there were 4 endowments provided our college in that grant. The 4 endowed chairs are, actually 3, the Conrad and Hylton Endowed Chair held by Dr. Ron Nykiel, the Baron Hylton Endowed Chair held by our good Dean John Bowen, and the Eric Hylton Endowed Chair held by yours truly. The first position, however, that was to be hired was the development officer, and the president of the Hylton Foundation at that time was Don Hubbs. And they told us and Dean Latin that we had to hire the development officer first. And we did, Mr. Bill Heaton. And today we have Mr. John Schultz. As a result of the growth of those endowed chairs, we were able to bring together a little bit of extra money from those endowed chairs and create the Don Hubbs Professorship, which is currently held by Dr. Stowe Shoemaker. I do feel privileged, honored, and am extremely proud to be the first recipient of the Eric Hylton Endowed Chair. But what is an endowed chair, and what does an endowed chair do for our college? An endowed chair assists the college in recruiting outstanding faculty to come to our college. It provides the opportunity to develop a standard of excellence that cannot be achieved only through credit hour generation and state funds. It is a way of keeping score with other hotel colleges. An endowed chair provides salary, benefits, travel, secretarial assistance, and graduate assistance. If managed well, the endowment continues to grow. And today, I believe a chair should be endowed at the $3 million level, although $1 or $2 million chairs are not refused. I mention all of this to make you aware of how fortunate our young college is to have 3 endowed chairs. However, it is necessary that we receive more in order to maintain our standard of excellence, to keep score, and to remind you of your responsibility and opportunity to help your alma mater become the outstanding College of Hotel and Restaurant Management in the world, and some would say, if not the universe. With that preface, please allow me to introduce our Eric Hylton Distinguished Chair Lecturer, Miss Dorothy Waddell. I asked her permission to use her maiden name, Miss Dorothy Waddell Nicholson, a 1977 graduate of our college and principal founder of Nicholson Interests, a private investment equity firm. And it's always a privilege to introduce one of your own. My first acquaintance with Miss Nicholson was the fall of 1974, my third year at the college. It was an exciting time for the college, for the North Wing had just been completed. We moved into the North Wing in March of 1974, and in the fall of 74, I had Miss Dorothy Waddell Nicholson in a food service systems class. What I remember quite well is Miss Nicholson sitting in about the middle of the classroom, room 109, which is in the West Wing, and I went to check, the number's still there, and she was intently listening to my lecture. However, not all students surrounding her listened as intently as she did. Indeed, at times they may not have been listening at all. Things haven't changed. She would, I noticed, from time to time encourage others to listen, or at least quiet them sufficiently so that she could listen. From my perspective, she started exhibiting leadership qualities at a very early age and has continued to be a leader in her profession since her graduation in 1977. And Dorothy's journey since her graduation in '77 from our college commenced in sales and marketing for the opening of a full-service independent hotel, the Houston Grand, now the Hotel Derrick. Indeed, the gentleman that was president of the management company that managed the Grand, Mr. Donald Brennan, is present with us today. Mr. Brennan. She then moved to Dallas to become corporate director of sales and marketing for a regional all-suite chain that helped evolve into a national franchise brand, Hawthorn Suites. As her journey continued, she became involved in operations, becoming a general manager and taking on multi-property responsibilities with a proven track record of leading failing properties to profitability under challenging market conditions. Most recently, 2000, Dorothy Nicholson founded Nicholson Interests, of which she is a principal, a private equity investment firm that searches for investment opportunities in the hospitality industry. She has invested in, for example, a hotel property in the Galleria, the Hylton Garden Inn area that is being developed by Mr. Nick Massad, a 1973 graduate of our college and former Eric Hylton Chair Distinguished Lecturer. She has been and continues to be involved in numerous community activities and believes strongly in the importance of volunteerism. For example, she serves as vice chairman of the Salvation Army Houston Advisory Board, and in 2006 will become the first woman to serve as chairperson of that board. Along the way, Ms. Nicholson and I have stayed in touch with one another. She has attended Gourmet Night frequently and will, as she has for the past several years, have a table at Gourmet Night 2005. Fire nice. 28 years ago, May 1977, Ms. Dorothy Waddell Nicholson graduated from our college. In the subsequent 28 years, she has created a very successful career. This journey has not been without its challenges. She has handled these challenges with uncommon courage and has taken a prominent leadership role in the hospitality industry. It has been my privilege to have her as a student, a friend, and watch her achieve success. Her journey has been most impressive, and I am certain you will enjoy this unique story. So, please listen carefully, take notes. I believe this outstanding person has much to offer in her remarks on her career journey to date in the hospitality industry. Ms. Nicholson, thanks for being with us. Would you please welcome warmly one of our very own, Ms. Dorothy Waddell Nicholson.
Wow, who was that woman that he just described? I don't recognize her. I never thought of myself as being somebody distinguished. I think I am probably more distinguished by being included in the company of my predecessors like Chuck Warzak and Nick Massad. I was really kind of surprised and amazed that Dr. Rapol asked me, of all people, to be a distinguished lecturer. Because I always had the impression that he thought of me as kind of an airhead, actually. One semester, and the key word here, one semester, I was a teaching assistant for him, and part of my responsibility was grading papers. And I remember one of the questions was about microwave cooking, whether it cooked from the inside out or the outside in. And I never really got that straight. And I graded all the papers wrong. And it was a fellow student that came to him and pointed that out. So it was a pretty embarrassing moment for me at the time, supposedly being the teaching assistant. And I have to confess that to this day, I stand in front of my microwave watching my food go round and round and think, is that cooking on the outside or the inside? And let me tell you something, you know what? I don't really care as long as it cooks. I don't care. Anyway, I may be a number of years from where you sit now, but I can identify with what you're going through. One thing I'm sure is, oh my God, one more mind-numbing hour of lecturing. Am I ever going to get through all of this? Well, there are some graduates here today to prove to you that yes, it does someday come to an end, and you will graduate. And then the question will be, okay, what am I going to do now? And what are the opportunities out there? Well, life, they tell you to make out your plan for 5 years and 10 years, and where do you want to go and what do you want to do. But I discovered that life does not go according to a plan. Most of us live within a certain set of circumstances, and we sometimes have to let those circumstances define our opportunities, or we can sometimes let the opportunity define our circumstances. Neither option is right or wrong. It's the choice that makes the difference. You will be confronted, I hate to tell you this, constantly and forever by making choices. And the important thing is that you make the choice and make the choice that's right for you. And hopefully what I'm going to impart to you today are some of the choices that I made, and right or wrong, they were the ones that I made. One of the first ones was when I faced graduation, I was offered a training program, a Hylton training program in Atlanta, where a new hotel was being built. And this was a great opportunity. There were not many of these programs that were offered. Well, my choice and my decision was that I declined to take that training opportunity. And I had 3 rationales for this. And, these were, I don't think I've ever admitted these publicly, but this is the truth. First of all, the practical one was that I was so broke, I had no money with which to make a move to Atlanta. I was fighting my cat for the last can of tuna fish in the cupboard. Secondly, on the intellectual level, I said, I've just spent 4 years getting a degree. What do I need a training program for? I can go out and do this. I'm ready. And thirdly, was on the emotional level. I didn't want to leave Houston because I was in love, and I was hoping that this man was going to ask me to marry him. So those were my very mature reasons for making the choice not to go and take this training program. So I guess it worked out pretty well in the end. Eventually, I was offered the position at the Houston Grand. Let's see if this is going to work. Oh, I did. Which, as Dr. Rapol said, was an independent hotel in the Galleria area of Houston. Now, at that time, you could put up a pup tent in the Galleria and sell it, and anything goes. It was pretty easy. Doing an independent hotel at that time was not that hard to do. It's a lot tougher to do now. Everything is branded. One thing that was kind of an ironic little help, at the same time that we were building the Grand, the MGM Grand in Las Vegas was being built and opened, and a lot of people were thinking that we were affiliated with that. And well, we did nothing to disabuse them of that notion. We didn't claim that we were, but we didn't say that we weren't either. One of the I guess advantages of going with the independent hotel was that it was the only hotel. We didn't have a lot of depth in the organization chart, so you had to wear a lot of hats. And I went into sales management, and as a manager, I had to participate in the manager on duty program, which meant there was a rotation of staying in the hotel and being in charge of the hotel over a weekend. So, and to do that, you had to go through each department, be familiar with all the departments in the hotel. So in a way, I got a training program, sort of a self-imposed informal training program, and that was sort of a way of overcoming not taking a formal training program. Probably wasn't as good as I could have gotten, but it was the best that I could do at the time. Then the other, well, of course, about this same time, fortunately, the man of my dreams did ask me to marry him, thank goodness, and so I got married. And not only that, but my husband was a bachelor father. He had all 3 of his kids living with him at the time, so I also had instant family. So I am balancing career and my career goals and newly married and new family. And one of the challenges that you will probably face as well has to do with trying to find a way to meld your personal life with your career life. And I don't think that the dynamics of that have changed very much. It's a challenge that you're going to have pretty much all of your life. And the thing that is a little bit different now, I think a lot of companies are a little bit more family friendly or personal life friendly than they used to be. It used to be you dedicated yourself completely to your company, and companies didn't really have a lot of interest in what your personal problems were. I think it's changed, and it's a little more sympathetic today. The other challenge at the time was that women going into the hospitality industry at that time was there were still mostly very much male dominated. It was very hard for women to get into upper management and into being director of sales, director of marketing, general manager, vice president. There were very few women in those roles at the time, and so it was a constant process of trying to overcome the stereotypes or the biases. I had one interesting interview one time when I went to interview at another hotel that was being built in the Galleria, and I went in to interview for a director of sales position. And believe it or not, this man that I interviewed with, and here I had been through the construction, the pre-opening, and promotion of a hotel in the Galleria area. But he said to me, "My dear, we are only hiring a man for this position. Wouldn't you rather apply for the catering secretary's job?" Yes, those things do happen. They did quite a bit at the time, but I think it's changed quite a bit from my understanding, even here at the college, that the ratio has changed, whereas there were 80% men, 20% women at the time. Now it's more women, 50-50, a little on the side. And out in the industry, it's also opened up, and there are a lot more opportunities for women, not just in the hospitality industry, but in business in general. Just these are some interior shots. If you are familiar by any chance with the Hotel Derrick, you will not recognize what this looks like and what it is now, because they have made major changes. Well, after a couple of years being married, my husband had an opportunity to move to Dallas. And that's another thing that is kind of a challenge in trying, as a woman, in trying to keep your career line going. That being married to someone, whether actually at this point, whether it's whether your spouse is male or female, if the other person has opportunities elsewhere, then you have to go through the working out the logistics of whose career is going to be followed. And this is not an easy process of trying to manage a personal life and a career life at the same time. My circumstances, and I gave up, I was probably the one doing most of the sacrificing and the giving up. And I don't mind saying that, and I don't mind admitting that. It's very un-PC these days, but those were the choices that I made to go where he was going to go and do what he was going to do. I was fortunate, though, that I did find a position as director of sales with a small company called Brook Hollow Inns. It was owned by a real estate company that thought that they wanted to go into the suite hotel business. I don't know what they were thinking at the time, but but actually it was a product that was still being tried and tested, and most of the consumers viewed it as a long-term type of product, and the business people. And so what you'll recognize now, Hawthorn Suites, is a fairly established franchise brand, and they originated from our little group of Brook Hollow Inns. I spent a number of years with the Hawthorn Suites and helping to get the brand started, and we were living in Dallas at the time, and I really got to where had gone as far as I could go with that company. I couldn't move to Chicago, where the home office was, because my husband's job, and there were really no further opportunities for me in Dallas. So I decided to take some time off and think about where I wanted, what was my next move. Of course, you know, you can always do that when you have a spouse that's employed, and sometimes you won't always have that kind of opportunity. But the thing was that my husband actually made me a better offer. He asked me to be a corporate wife. It was very un-PC then, and I don't know, still now, I guess, for a woman to be defined by her man. But this was a choice that I made, and even though, admittedly, in this period of time, I was always still out there looking for or thinking about what else I would like to do, I was very happy that I joined my husband in the work that he was doing. It was great opportunities for traveling internationally, stayed at some really great hotels, although I think my husband came to really regret that he invited me along, because it never failed, whatever hotel we were in, I gave him a complete rundown of how it was not being run right, or what could be done better, or how I would do it better. So sometimes he wished I would just stay home. But I have to say, though, that my husband was probably the best mentor that I ever had. I learned a lot about corporate affairs, about financials, interpreting financial statements, and very deep interpretation, and about investing. It was a good experience in a different way that you can't get necessarily by just going through courses. It's kind of an more on-the-job training, I guess, is what it amounts to. After a few successful years that my husband had, then he was offered a position here in Houston from there was a British conglomerate that owned an oilfield service company that they wanted to spin off to raise cash. So he had the opportunity to come here and take a company public, and not many people get the opportunity to do that, and there is another learning experience to go through, generating an initial public offering, going through the due diligence, and working with investment bankers, and this is where I really learned to do pretty much what I'm doing now. After a few successful years heading up that company, and a major international competitor made an offer to buy his company. It was in the midst of these negotiations that my husband suffered a fatal heart attack. I have to tell you that in the moment that a heart stopped beating, I lost everything that meant anything to me at the time. I lost my friend, my partner, my lover, my mentor, the companion that I had intended to spend the rest of my life with. Everything in my life changed from that day forward. And I'm not putting this, I'm not meaning to be insensitive, but I lost my job too, because he was my job. It was for about 2 years my life went into complete limbo. He sort of operated on autopilot and like a robot, dealing with the estate, consoling and counseling kids, adjusting to be alone and realizing that the future that I had thought I was going to have with my husband and someone that I spent so much time with was no longer there. And although I could have lived certainly very comfortably, I could have joined the bridge and golf group down at the country club, but I decided that that was not for me. I had to do something. One thing I knew is I didn't want to go back to work for somebody else. I was, by that time too arrogant, too independent, nobody would want to hire me. I wasn't going to listen to them. I thought I wanted to maybe buy a small hotel or a bed and breakfast, but fortunately I came to my senses and remembered how much work it was to manage hotels. So I decided that I preferred to be a partner, an investor, an entrepreneur, and assist in buying and operating hospitality-related ventures, which meant kind of getting into venture capital, which I really didn't know that much about, but fortunately, a family friend, a young man that my husband had mentored years before, he is now a venture capitalist, and he assisted me in getting into this and setting up a network for me and give me some pointers on getting started. So when I started Nicholson Interests, I had to determine what my plan was going to be. What parameters did I want to work within, and I needed some guidelines to follow, a business plan. So first I outlined the types of investments that I wanted to make and what kind of businesses I wanted to put into my portfolio. I felt that the hospitality industry would be a pretty wide field and be enough opportunities, but as it turned out, it wasn't. After 2001, it was kind of needed to expand into some other areas. Next, the next thing is, how much was I willing to put at risk at any time, and what return did I expect for taking that risk? How diversified did I want these investments to be? Putting too many eggs in the hotel basket would be really messy if the bottom fell out of the hotel market, which of course 2001 it did. So just to be safe, I did look at other areas, and I have gone into real estate. One thing that I was sure I learned very early not to do was that I did not want to go into something that I didn't have familiarity with, that I didn't know or understand. At one, angel investors, this kind of a terminology for people who are investing in small companies or startup companies. I joined this group of angel investors, and we were presented with all kinds of things from biotech and high tech and nanotech. And once there was a cement company that had this new formula for cement that was used in making these great big ducts that go underneath the highway. And the return on this looked really great, but I don't know anything about cement. Why am I getting into something I don't know anything about? Nanotechnology, I have no doubt that there is a lot of money to be made in nanotechnology, but I don't understand it, no matter how many times it's been explained to me, so I'm not going to go into it. So one of the first things that I got into, one of my earliest investments, was for a proposed hotel downtown. And the saying, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the one that turns into a prince. Well, this one never turned into the prince. I was actually saved at the last minute on this deal. This was a historic building that the developers were going to convert into a suite hotel. Aha, I know about suite hotels, and I've been through construction. So, and the plan on this and the returns on this looked very promising. The downtown area was very ripe, and there was a lot of activity going on down there, and the economy was good. And this was in 2000. Well, fortunately, I had put my money in, but the developer came back and said, we can't get the rest of the equity that we need, so we're going to scrap the project. And I was so disappointed because I thought, oh, my first big deal has already died. But actually what happened was he found another partner that wanted to do the whole deal themselves. And so I kind of got aced out. And when I found out about that, I was pretty upset. But the new partner was expanding this project and making it into a way bigger deal than it really needed to be. And so I was saved in the end, and my money was returned with interest, which wasn't all bad. And I was very glad because now, in the interim, 2001 happened with 9/11, the fall of Enron, and way too many hotels downtown. And so now at this point, the hotel, which finally got finished, it is now is now in default on their loan from the city. But I'm sure that they're going to work things out. I also took a little foray into the internet business, internet reservation service. And this, I could see this was a coming thing. A lot of hotels were very interested in that and somewhat concerned about it. And I knew these two young fellows that had hotel background, and they had developed a booking engine for the internet reservation service. And I went into it, invested about the same time that a venture capital firm in New York also got interested. But what usually and often happens when a venture capital company gets involved is that they put their own people in, and they want they're not very patient on letting a company grow. And so the founders ultimately got aced out. They were voted off the board, and they pretty much lost the company, and the whole deal just basically fell apart. And they ended up selling the software that they had developed for, I don't know, 15 cents on the dollar, and that's probably about all that I will get out of that project. So I learned the couple of things that I learned. One is, on the first deal, is to be more patient and to look more closely into these deals. And the second one was to know the people that I'm going to be doing business with. And so I made it a rule in the future to really not look at anything that wasn't referred to me by somebody that I knew very, very well. And this has paid off a lot better. So some of the things that I did that are on the positive side, the upside. This is a very small, I have a very, very small percentage. I got through a private placement. And this is the Marriott Desert Ridge in Scottsdale, Arizona. I think my investment in this might buy me one room in that. But the thing is, since it's through a hospitality fund, CNL Hospitality, the returns on this are very safe and very sure, and it helped to kind of get me started and build up some equity to go into some other opportunities. And one of which, well, the first Hylton Garden that I got into was in Rancho Bernardo, California, which opened last December and has already exceeded the occupancy and RevPAR projections, and as well, they have also exceeded the market share projections, and we should begin to start receiving returns on that. And let's hope that our Hylton Gardens in the Galleria is going to be just as successful as I know it will be. No pressure there, no pressure there. But also the other thing is, and you know, I'm so pleased to be working with Nick and have that opportunity. And let me digress for just a moment. You don't have any idea, the people that you're sitting next to, what that person is going to be doing and turning out to be. But I highly encourage you to get to know and start developing professional relationships that you can form right now in college, and you may be doing business deals someday in the future. And not only in this college, but getting to know people in colleges, in the other colleges in the university. And, well, and this is another one of Nick's projects that I also have a small interest in as well. This is the nice thing about this, of course, is that it's next to a casino, and anything casinos, you're talking about instant cash as far as I'm concerned. Nevada Gold and Casino, thanks to my friend Mr. Brennan, who is with Nevada Gold. I did early on a couple of bridge loans with them, and I had the option in those loans to purchase, to get my returns in stock. Purchased, so what I did, I took advantage of that. When the loans matured, I took my returns in stock, which at the time was valued at $3, and now it's at $13, $14. So that was a nice turnaround on that. Getting out a little bit away from the hospitality or hotel business, this was an interesting concept. This was presented to me by a construction and development company here in Houston. They build student housing on selected universities, and their concept was really very similar to the hotels that I managed, the Brook Hollow Inns. And they'll package 2 or 3 of these and put them on, it's basically off-campus sites, and it's geared towards upperclassmen, senior levels, and they provide transportation to the college. There's a lot of great amenities with this, and they have been phenomenally successful. I mean, hotels wish that they could have the occupancy that these projects have, 95, 100% year-round. And 2 of the packages that I went into with them have already been sold, turned around and sold to real estate investment trusts, and we have seen up to 150% return on our investment there. Okay, restaurants. Well, let me tell you, I did take a couple of forays into restaurants, and it's not my favorite thing. I have decided that's not particularly where I want to go. I'm doing it a little bit differently. The Cafe Adobe, I had the opportunity to get involved in the real estate purchase for the land that the Cafe Adobe in the Woodlands sits on. And I've decided that that's a better way to go into the restaurant business, because in the end, if the restaurant should fail, which I don't think that they will in this particular instance, this guy really knows how to run restaurants. If the restaurant should fail, which a couple of other deals I was in, they did, but we still have the real estate, and you can always turn around and sell the land. So my new motto became, if it ain't got dirt, we ain't buying. And then another interesting opportunity came along. Some other investment bankers, venture capitalists, found a little company that was making premium ice creams, and they are selling in the commercial market only. There's no retail. And it's kind of a little market niche, and they can do custom flavors of these ice creams, and they also make purees and glacés, and they've expanded the products to include bakery and specialty coffees. And I'm not sure where he came up with the name of Blue Roy, but at any rate, if you have a salesperson from that company calling on you and you're in purchasing, please buy products from that company. I would really appreciate it. Okay, and then lastly, the Texas Women Ventures Fund that I got into as a charter investor. There's a lot I could tell you about. I've learned a lot about women in business and private entities that I learned from going into this fund. And maybe this afternoon I can kind of give you a little teaser. If you're interested in that, you can come by this afternoon and we can talk about it. But I can tell you that the statistics on women in business are incredible. About half of the private businesses in this country are owned or majority owned by women, and they are showing better and faster growth than all the other businesses in the United States. However, women-owned and women-operated businesses are have traditionally been getting less than 10% of the venture capital that is out there in the marketplace. So one of the reasons why we formed the Texas Women Ventures Fund is to specifically target women businesses, women owned and operated, and to give them a chance at getting venture capital to get started. Although they've been so successful, I don't know, maybe they don't really need to have all this capital. They're doing well without it. Okay, in the few minutes that I have left, I want to kind of relate to you in my experience and some of the things that I think have been key things for my success, whatever that might be. First of all, I can't stress anything more important to you than this. Do not leave this university without being able to read, comprehend, and interpret financial statements. I am telling you that if you want to succeed, you have to know this. Because if you don't, somebody that does know it is going to run right over you. If you are trying to succeed in a corporation, in a large company, you've got to know this. If you are running your own business, you have got to understand the financials. You have to be able to know what your progress is as you are managing an asset for somebody else or for yourself. And the only way you can really judge that, and the only way the best way for measurement of that is through your financial statements. I hated financial statements and interpretation and going through all those classes. Money this was just not my thing, so I can empathize with you 100%. It's boring as all get out. It's mind-numbing, but unfortunately, it is the way that the business community measures success. So whatever it is you're going to do, and not only in your career life, but you've also got to start thinking about your own personal financial situation. I hate to tell you this, but I'm a baby boomer, and we are about to eat up your Social Security. Don't count on that being there, because if they don't make some major changes, there's not going to be any Social Security when you get to that point. So you better start doing something right now to plan for your retirement. I know that seems like that is way off in the future, and you're trying to think of how can I get the hell out of here, much less worry about what's going to happen 40, 50 years from now. But all I can tell you is it's not something that you should just kind of ignore. It's an important part of putting together your plan for success throughout your life. Okay, the second thing that I felt like I wasn't really prepared for, and that was managing people. You can take the courses and read the books and do all the seminars, but there is nothing like experience that will teach you how to manage people. The thing is that when you're managing people, you're dealing with human beings. And human beings are the most unpredictable thing in the whole wide world. You can't predict what people's reactions and behaviors are going to be. And how you handle these situations will be based a lot on your own experiences as an employee. And so, as an employee, an important thing when you graduate and you're choosing your first step out in your career, choose your bosses carefully. If you look at the company or where you're going to go to work, you want to look at the culture and the environment. Is it a family-friendly environment and a culture that understands and appreciates that you have a personal life? And is that something that you want to identify with? Does that culture have the values that you want to have in your career and in your working life? And is the person that you're going to go to work for, is that somebody that you want to emulate? This doesn't always work out all that well, sometimes you end up working for an idiot, okay? That's just the way it is. It's going to happen sometimes. And if your first impression is, my God, I'm working for an idiot, let me just tell you, give it a little time, okay? Sometimes people are not really the idiot that they present themselves to be. So before you decide that it's really a bad situation, give it some time and think it through. And even if that person does turn out to be idiot, immoral, whatever, learn from that experience, because what you're doing in that situation is you're learning something that you don't want to be. How that person, how that boss treats his or her employees has a lot to do with how you will end up doing the same thing. Don't repeat somebody else's mistakes. Always treat your employees with the respect that you want them to treat you. We kind of sometimes tend to take our employees for granted, and we don't think about. I love this commercial. Real quick, I'm just going to tell you, this commercial is really great. You know, it's the guy has this dog, and he tells the dog to go into the closet, look on the second shelf in the back, and get my brown loafers. And the dog goes into the closet, and he looks on this shelf, and there's 2 pairs of shoes up there, 2 pairs of loafers, and, you know, not sure, and he ends up and he comes back with the black ones. And the guy says, I told you the brown ones, not the black ones. What's wrong? Are you colorblind? Well, you know, the funny thing about this to me is the guy, you know, give credit to the dog. The dog knew which room was the closet, which shelf was the second shelf, and what shoes are loafers. Well, sometimes we don't appreciate the employees, the people that are working for us. We need to give them a little credit, give them the best benefit of the doubt that you can. And if you show that appreciation for them, you're going to get that back in return. The other thing is your peers. Always associate with the best people. You want to associate with people that are positive, that are energetic, that are smart, and they are moving forward just like you want to move forward. You want to avoid the complainers, the people that are undermining the management or the goals of the company, the people that are gossiping. Don't get involved in corporate politics or company politics. It's not worth it. And the last thing you want to do is get involved in warring factions. You know, it's going to happen. You're going to see it. You're going to be right in the middle of it. You're going to have people that are competing for position or attention or whatever. And you want to keep your mind focused on what is your goal within that company. And no matter what your employees might be like, or your boss is like, or your coworkers are like, and how much they may frustrate you, try never to burn your bridges, because you never know when you go to your next job, that employee that was working for you might end up being your boss or another one of your peers, or it might be somebody that you want to do business with in the future. And if you can maintain good relationships, backwards, forwards, all around, it will pay off for you. Then on personal development, think, act, and dress the part that you want to play. I'm going to just give you a couple of examples. Let's say that you're on an airplane, you're going from Los Angeles to New York, and there's terrible storms in between. So a man gets on, and he's in a pilot's uniform, and he goes to the cockpit. Another man gets on, and he's got his Hawaiian shirt on, and his shorts, and he's got his sunglasses hanging off the back, and a little bit of a growth, and he goes in, and he sits in the cockpit. Which one of those guys do you want to be flying the plane? Now, the thing is that you are judged by the image that you project. So if you want to be taken seriously in your profession, and you want to actually be a professional, you have to project that image. When you're not there at the office, hey, pierce anything, tattoo anything, wear anything you want. But if you're trying to achieve something in the position that you're going into, you have to dress that part, because you will be judged by the image that you project. And you want to, as I said, I was talking about earlier, developing a circle of friends. I suggest that right now, if you have the opportunity, get to know students in the other colleges, especially in law, in accounting, in finance, architecture, the other people that are going into businesses that you will very likely be doing business with in the future. It's never too early to start developing those relationships. The thing about it is that although the times may change and the world that we live in is constantly changing, but there are certain things that never change. And those are the people and the human beings that we are dealing with. One of the few advantages of having been around for so long, thank you, Dr. Rapol, for pointing out 28 years. Anyway, when you've been around a long time, you see things come and go and come and go. You know, at one time, 28 years ago, platform shoes are in. They've gone out. Now they're back in again. I don't know why. Can't walk in those things. Couldn't then, can't now. I have seen energy prices go way up and go down, and now they're back up again. I've seen the stock market go way down and come back up again, as we saw in 2001. Corporate and political scandals, they always bring on cries for reform and new regulations, and those are put into place, but the bad guys always manage to find a way to get around them and create more scandals all over again. People come in and out of our lives and create other difficulties and new difficulties and challenges for us, for better or for worse, but we still go on. A lot has happened, and there's been a lot of changes since I graduated. VCRs, DVDs, CDs, cell phones, the internet, laptops, these are terminologies that were not at all common or hardly known when in fact, actually, if some man had come up to me and said, "Where's your laptop?" I'm afraid I would have had to slap him. I would have thought that was something lewd back at that time. But what is constant, what remains constant, is being human, making our own choices, and dealing with people who are having to make their own choices in life. That won't change. Or will it? Who knows? 30 years from now, you could be involved in designing, developing, or staffing the first lunar Hylton and trying to figure out how to fuse human cuisine with alien cuisine. These are challenges that whatever your future is, you have and challenges to face, but don't be afraid. Life goes on, and all you have to do is choose to live it the very best that you can. And now I'm so pleased that I joined the alumni of former distinguished lecturers. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure I forgot most of my... Okay. I believe I'm supposed to entertain questions. I said it all. You don't have any questions, right? Yes, sir.
It sounds like Nicholson Interests is a majority of your money personally. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct. I also decided I did not want to manage anybody else's money. I do, the only exception to that is some family trusts, and I do manage those, but no, it's my money. And what I make from the investments that I made. And I did, one other thing, I didn't say this, but I want to make this clear. My other goal and intention in forming Nicholson Interests was I want the profits from my company are going into charitable causes. I will be setting up a foundation. I haven't done it now. It's too much work to do. But that is my intent in basically setting up my company is for philanthropic endeavors. Yes, Mr. Brennan.
Dorothy, one of your things on the board said keep learning. How do you suggest the young men and women in the audience keep learning? I mean, how important is that and what should they do to keep learning?
Well, there's one of the things that I did, I did a lot of self-imposed learning, partly because I was always challenged because of being a woman, always feeling like I got to be one step ahead, can't be wrong, I can't be, you know, behind the times. I was constantly having to stay abreast of things. And for one thing, the certification, I went through Certified Hotel Sales Executive and Certified Hotel Administrator, and those were learning programs, getting the certification. They were pretty stringent. In fact, for the sales executive, I had to write a paper, a research paper, and have it published before I could get my certification. So that's one of the things, one of the inspirations for learning that that will have a little reward at the end of it. There are always continuing education courses to be taken, but a lot of it can be interacting with peers and other people in your industry or in other industries, and learning about what they do and how you might be able to apply some of that to what you're doing. I have a feeling you had a reason to ask me that question, and I know I'm standing here going da 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 da. Okay. There's something in my history I know he's trying to bring out of me, and I'm not getting it. Okay. What else? Oh, how could you possibly ask me a question? You know everything. Yeah, don't ask me how a microwave cooks.
I'm just curious, where those rooms, student rooms, what university was that?
Actually, multiple. They are at about 25 or 30 universities. The packages that I participated in included two of these projects at Texas Tech University, at the University of Nebraska, University of Virginia, University of California at Davis. They have these projects that they do there at Baylor, University of Texas, Sam Houston, just about any major top-tier university. They particularly put them off campus, and all of the rooms. It's kind of an interesting concept in that the units have 2 or 3 bedrooms, sometimes 4 bedrooms, and this is a turnkey project from day one. They do incredible marketing to decide where they're going to put these, and they choose the site, they develop it, they build it, construction, they manage it, they do the leasing, complete turnkey operation. And so they control, there's a lot of control on this, and management, if the students are responsible only for the unit or their bedroom. If your deadbeat roommate disappears on you, you're not responsible for the whole thing. Management finds another roommate, and that's one of the keys to the success of this. It's like apartment living, it's like independent living, but you're not responsible for finding roommates or paying for the whole thing. It's very successful. Yes, sir.
Earlier, the downtown hotel investment is currently default on its loan. I work in a boutique-style hotel downtown, and I also have friends who work in other boutique-style hotels downtown. And they seem to have successful restaurants, but the overall success of the hotel seems to be quite low. Our occupancy is greater than 30%. Do you think that will ever be a strong market, or do you ever think that will be viable?
I love downtown Houston. I think the changes are fabulous downtown, and it has tremendous potential. But it's overbuilt, particularly I think on the boutique hotels. And then of course you had the Hylton, the big new Hylton came in. Huge number of rooms added to the inventory. Will it come back? Don't put this on the camera. Not until the city and the Convention Bureau really gets to work on developing a really strong marketing and promotion plan for downtown Houston. They've just got to do. There's not enough business on the books for downtown Houston to help all those hotels that are downtown. That's my personal opinion on that.
One last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at your life, you have done like so many things in different arenas to consider as great accomplishments, like becoming the chairholder of Salvation Army of Houston Advisory Board, and others would think that Nicholson Interests would be a great achievement. What do you think is your personal greatest achievement that you have made?
Making a marriage last. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's not, it just isn't as popular, sometimes I think, as it used to be, but there's no greater reward in my life than have, especially the fact that we were both, I hate to tell you this, Waddell was my first married name. It was not my maiden name. We had second marriages, and we had kids from a previous marriage, and the odds of success on that were not good, but we were determined to do it. And there's nothing, I think, more rewarding. I'm proud of my kids. They're all married. I have 7 grandchildren, and that's, to me, I'd rather take that away with me than anything else I've ever done. Thank you for asking that. Thank you.
Don't leave yet.
Oh, they were just determined to get out of here. Can I leave? Thank you.
That was a very, very fine presentation and probably one of the nicest endings I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We have one announcement again. For those of you who didn't get to ask the questions you might want to have asked, we have another opportunity at 2:30 this afternoon over in Barron's in the University Club, and we would be delighted to see you there if you can make it. We would like to present you Dorothy Nicholson with a plaque. And if I may read this to the audience, and you're welcome to come up and stand if you'd like. Conrad and Hylton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management, University of Houston, in honor of Dorothy Nicholson, we hereby award this certificate of appreciation for participating in the Eric Hylton Distinguished Chair Lecture Series, April 7th, 2005. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Really, my honor. Thank you.
Don't go. We have one other thing. You have to stand here with your back.
Oh, it makes me a little nervous.
Especially with Clint.
Yeah.
And we have a former Eric Hylton Distinguished Chair Lecturer presenting this to you. Would you please sit down? You're not supposed to look back, Dorothy. Congratulations.
I'm just thankful it's not a rocking chair.
We tried. Thank you very much for coming, and have a great day.